Curves are a very useful object type in Blender for modeling things like wires and pipes. We use them quite a lot in Elephant's Dream. So let's just go click the spacebar and add a curve. My favorite one is the Bezier curve. And as you can see now, we can just keep on adding points by control clicking somewhere. And we can move the handles to control our curve. But really want to have more control over it. So there are a variety of options for the control points that can be accessed here. And for example, you can switch control point to vector. That will make him look like that. Let's just select everything for now. And my favorite option is actually the automatic handle interpolation, because now the handles are just adjusted wherever the curve points are, and now we can just add points and we don't really have to care about the handles at all. This is also extremely useful, for example, if you go to the edit buttons and you can see this little option down here. It says draw handles. We can disable that. Now we don't see the handles anymore, so it's also quite useful. Now by itself the curves don't get rendered at all. So to do that we have to give them some thickness, and the easiest way to do that is just to give them a bevel object. Bevel object is just another curve, so let's just add a Bezier circle, and we call this circle bevel. Let's just scale that down a little bit. And now the only thing you have to do is just insert that name here down in the bevel options. So BE tab completion is pretty useful. Enter. Now you can see the curve has some thickness to it, and we can even see that in edit mode. So now, as you can see, the curve is only on that in our flat 2D plane, and to make it actually move in 3D, we just have to press the 3D button here. Now we can move everything around. Now, there's also something you can do to control the thickness of the curve a bit better, which is found under the bevel options. It's a taper object, and again, the taper object is just another curve. So let's say we insert another Bezier curve here, and we call this one taper. I actually misspelled that. Haha, sorry. Keep doing that quite a lot, especially when the screen is so far away as it is right now. Okay, taper, and we just insert that name here again, TA tab. Now this curve here, let's just enable the curve points again. Now this curve here just controls the thickness of that curve, so that's also really useful, especially if you want to model organic things like plants. The resolution of the curve is determined by this setting here. It's called the default resolution, and it's just a default resolution for a 3D viewport, but also for rendering if this option is not set. So if you want to have a different render resolution than, let's say in your 3D view, then just type in another number here. By default it's 0, which means just take this setting here for rendering too. Now this is also a bit complicated. I mean, you can't just, if you have 2000 curves in your viewport and they all have different taper and bevel objects, you don't really want to do that. So during Elephant Stream we learned a trick from Ton. It's from the ancient days of Blender and to just give a curve a thickness without taper or bevel objects. So let's just share that trick with you. It goes like this. Basically you have 3D enabled, right? And you disable front and back. Now if you adjust the bevel depth, you see the curve also gets a thickness, and we can change the resolution of that with the bevel resolution here. Now you see we have a curve with a thickness, and it will probably render, and we don't have a bevel object. But what about tapering? Well, there's a feature that has been added quite recently, I think a couple of versions back, where you can shrink fatten each curve segment. So we can just select one segment and press Alt S to scale it up or scale it down. And with that we can also create some very interesting shapes. And again, if you're not interested in the curve points, we can just hide them.